Hello, welcome to EFT, Confidence in Physical Activities, with me, Stella. So, I am an EFT advanced practitioner. I'm also a trainer, so I train other people to offer EFT, emotional freedom technique. I'm also a hypnotherapist and a Qigong instructor. You might have come across some of my sessions before. Welcome back. It's lovely to have you join again. But if you're brand new and you've never come to one of my sessions or you've never tried EFT and you're thinking, well, what is it? Then don't worry. This session, we'll do a little intro. It's perfect for beginners. And you'll get a sense about how EFT works and what my approach is. And hopefully you'll take some tools away from today to support you as well. Okay. So I love emotional freedom technique. I love sharing it with my clients. I use it on myself in daily self-care, managing my own confidence, emotions, any life stresses. And I also really love sharing it on the virtual village hall in these sessions because I know that it's a really powerful way to take care of ourselves. And we all need that, whatever we've got going on. So take a moment. This time is just for you, whether you're watching this live or you might be watching it back. If you are watching it back, or even if you're watching it live, sometimes we need to take a break. It might feel like quite a lot to do in one go. If that's the case, then please remind yourself that you can do that. You can take a break, have a cuppa, a glass of water, particularly if it's hot and humid where you are today, you might need that, and come back to it later. I think that's nice to remember. If you're like me and you experience things like fatigue and a bit of brain fog, I live with chronic fatigue symptoms. So, for that and other reasons, sometimes you want to break it up. So I invite you to let yourself do that. Okay. I advise to begin, you have some water. So what we're doing with EFT partly is we are getting a healing process. And when we do that, when we get energy moving, the body needs to be really hydrated. So I invite you to make sure you drink lots of nice, nourishing water, ideally nice filtered, clean water if you can, but just any water is good throughout the day, even into tomorrow, just to make sure you help the process. And before I say a bit more about EFT itself, the theme that we focused on today is confidence around physical activities, because I don't know if you have noticed or you've been getting involved, but there's the Olympics going on at the moment. And I know that some people are really lapping it up and really enjoying watching all these different, different areas, different sports. And there's lots of talk around like the gymnasts, for example. You might have a particular part that you enjoy. But this sparked up the idea, what could we focus on around this with EFT? And a lot of us might be watching that and might lack the confidence to do physical activity ourselves, whether it's exercise, like a sports team, a local group, or maybe it's even just going for a walk or a run. We can have our own hang-ups and our own blocks and things that prevent us from keeping active, whatever that is for us. And I think it'd be really good for us to focus on that today and explore that a little bit to get a bit of a sense about what are your blocks. You might be aware, but you might not be aware. Some might be unconscious. So we'll do a little bit of an exercise around journaling to see if you can get some clarity around what might be causing your confidence or even just how you feel about it. Then we'll do some tapping together. I'll show you the points. You'll just follow me and copy me. So it'll be very simple and easy to follow. And we'll explore some of where that sits in your body, how you feel, the part of you that wants to do the activities and the part that might be struggling and lacking confidence and whatever else is going on for you. And then we'll work on bringing up some more confidence for you, perhaps, ideally. But first we need to address some of what is holding you back. That's always the first key, is awareness. Okay. So emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping. It's often just called tapping, to shorten it. It's an energy psychology. It's a mind-body therapy. There's different ways, different phrases used to describe it. But ultimately, it is a practice where we literally tap on points around the body, these meridian points. So acupuncture points that are used in Chinese medicine. We know that there are these points around the system that are connected to all kinds of organs and emotions. And when things happen in life, they get blocked. We've all got our own unique set of blocks going on in our system that cause different issues physically, emotionally, mentally, maybe spiritually. Whatever your experience is, everybody's different. But with this process, we're tapping the points and we're helping some of the energy to move through. So if you imagine that an event in the past might have affected your confidence around taking part in a gym activity at school, or maybe something else happened, going for a run in public, whatever it is for you. And at that point, instead of the natural flow of energy and emotions that are meant to happen around our system, because we are all energy and it's meant to be in flow, something would have happened where it got stuck because the body would have tensed, the emotion, it was difficult, something happened that was uncomfortable. So there's a block that occurs, and then that creates a bit of a build-up. The mental and the physical is completely connected. We can't separate it. So when that thing happens mentally, physically, the block occurs. And through this process, we're helping to get that energy, that block, to begin to move. You can imagine a stream, a block of garbage is built up. We're going to gently help erode some of that garbage. We might not move it all, in one go or today, but we can at least pick some bits off of it so they flow down the stream, they're released, and the block gets more manageable and smaller, and ideally disappears completely, at some point. Okay, so that's kind of an explanation of how EFT works. I hope that makes sense to you, but don't worry if it doesn't. If you're brand new to this kind of thing, it can feel quite strange, and that's okay. So just giving it a go is really a great place to start. Just keeping an open mind and seeing what it does for you today. Okay. We'll begin by doing just a little bit of journaling. So if you've got pen and paper, great, but don't worry if you haven't, because you can just think about it and note it in your mind. That's all that matters. It's a very quick check-in exercise. To begin, I want you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes if that feels safe for you. You might place hands on your chest. I find that quite good to ground and center myself. Closing your eyes, taking some nice deep breaths. Sometimes for different reasons, maybe health reasons, focusing on breath might actually feel uncomfortable. So if that's the case for you, then you can skip over this. Whatever's going to help you feel grounded, whether it's your feet on the ground, noticing what's around you, a bit of mindfulness, then that's perfect. You do that. But for those that are comfortable, just join me in some nice deep breaths. And as we breathe in, we're going to expand the stomach all the way down to the pelvis if we can. And then as we breathe out a nice long breath, we're going to let everything go and the stomach deflates. So it's as if we have a balloon in the stomach and we breathe in and it expands. And then we breathe out and the balloon deflates. A few more times. Breathing in. Really imagining that expanding balloon all the way down to your pelvis, sending the breath as deep as it will go. Breathing out and letting it deflate, letting everything go. As we take nice deep belly breaths like this, we are massaging the organs, the vagus nerve. We're helping our system to soften, to relax, to enter a neutral healing state where we are much clearer mentally. We're able to get some clarity and to shift some of those blocks that we've mentioned and to just feel more comfortable. So that's a really good exercise just to do at the start of, any practice like this, but also throughout your day if you can and if you found it helpful. So just focusing on those breaths. I'm going to ask you just a few questions. If you've got pen and paper, you can note down anything that comes up, or you can just think about it and be aware. And if you're not sure, if you don't have any clarity come up, that's okay. Don't make that wrong, that's fine. I'm sure that you'll still begin to get some clarity as we go deeper into the session. Okay. So centering yourself, nice deep breaths, eyes closed or open. And I just want you to consider this idea that we're focusing on of your confidence around doing physical activity. And just ask yourself, what is it? What's going on for you? What What is affecting you in taking part in this physical activity or exercise or being more active? You might have an awareness of the block. It might be very clear, or it might be really faint and just a sense. Just be curious. You could ask yourself when it began. That's always a really powerful question. When did this lack of confidence begin in your life? Do you remember when it started? Around what age you are? You might just take a guess, or you might have a really clear memory. Okay. And if you could guess what emotion is attached to this, there might be a few emotions mixed in with this sort of low confidence. There might be worry, anxiety, fear, embarrassment, frustration. Your story is completely unique to you, so just be open to considering what might be going on for you, and you can just note it in your mind or on a piece of paper. You might come back to it later after this session. It'll help you throughout the session too. Nice deep breaths. And I also want you to consider what you would like it to be like. So, if this block was completely cleared, what would that be like? What would it feel like to feel confident, to be able to take part, to do whatever you wanted to do, whether that's join a sports team, might be really small, simple, but it's not really small, going for a walk, going for a run in public, working out, getting fitter, healthier, whatever your thing is, just note it. And in your mind, just think what it would feel like. What is it that you're working towards? What's the ideal? And you might have a part of you saying, well, that's not possible. That's okay. You can thank that part, say, I know that you're trying to keep me safe, avoid disappointment. But for now, just let yourself consider what it is that you would like, the way you'd like it to be. Okay, well done. So we'll go into the tapping points. We'll go through them together. And the more specific and personal you can be to your own feelings in your body, sensations, I'll guide you through this, but the more specific you can be, the better, the more benefit and shift you will get from this session. So obviously I'm guiding as a general, but I will give you opportunity to go deeper and more specific for yourself. For example, completing some sentences that I might say. I also want to be really clear that you can go as deep as you want to, but it's really important to make sure that you're resourced. So sometimes when we're thinking back to an event that affected our confidence, it might be quite emotional for us. So you might not want to go into that today, and that's completely fine. You can note it and decide to come back to it later. Remember, you can pause and come back to this. It's really important that you take care of yourself, whatever that means for you. It might be having a cuppa, a chat with a friend. It might be watching a different video on this virtual village hall that could support you in a different way. So you've got lots of options, but just make sure you don't push, that you are really gentle with yourself and what you need to do. Okay. So make sure you are comfortable as you can be, wherever you are. Ideally, you want your feet planted on the ground if you can, if that's relevant for you, and a nice straight back. But the main thing is that you are comfortable in your situation right now. We're going to start by just exploring some of where this issue sits in your body before we start the first tapping point. So again, just taking a breath, and I want you to consider some of what you just journaled on, what it brought up for you. I want you to consider this issue of maybe lacking confidence, not feeling great about being physically active. And I want you to see if you're getting a sensation in your body. So thinking about being active, doing the activity, how does that make you feel? Do you notice that you feel a bit nervous, that there's a jarring, a tension in your body? maybe some butterflies, in your tummy. Whatever you feel, just note it. So with EFT, we start with like the difficult thing, the sort of the negative. It's all energy. There's not really positive or negative, but we label it as such, which is part of how we get these blocks. But we just start by acknowledging that. And sometimes people, I think, I don't want to go there. I don't want to think about it. If I focus on the negative, it will get bigger. That's not how it works. So just go with it as much as you can. Just notice these sensations in your body. And if you don't feel it, if you don't feel that connection, you're not sure, that's okay. Don't worry. It's not uncommon to have that disconnection with the body, to not be sure. So that's okay. You can work with that. But if you are aware, just note it down. And if it has a shape or a colour or a texture, like those butterflies, what colour are they moving around? The tension, is it in your shoulders? And, is it hard? Is it rough? Just note, become aware. And you can give it a scale, a number, so 1 to 10. If 10 is the most intense that could be for you, the most tense, the most knotty, the most nervous, what number would you give it? 0 being the most neutral, 10 being the most intense. This issue, this feeling is. Just guess the number if you're not sure. Okay, and for safety reasons, ideally, if you're sort of an 8 or above, you might want to work with somebody one-to-one on this particular issue, because it might be quite heightened for you, and just to give you that sort of guidance. But whatever number you have, just acknowledge it. And sometimes when we work on this, a number might bubble up a bit more before it releases and goes down. That's okay too, just as long as you feel resourced and safe. But ideally, the number can fluctuate. It's just a way to measure. So it doesn't matter too much. Don't worry about the number. But it's just a way to measure. So we've got an example. Okay. So tapping the outside of the hand. We're going to start tapping now. That's enough talking. It's good to experience it. We have to experience it, I think, to believe EFT. So it can be either hand. Doesn't matter. And it's just the outside of the hand. So not where the thumb is, the other side. Doesn't matter how hard or how fast you tap, just find what feels good for you. It's important we take nice deep breaths. We invite the body to be as relaxed as possible. Okay. And we're going to do what's called a setup statement. We'll say this a few times. I'll give the opportunity to make it specific for your situation. Even though, so just repeat after me, I don't feel very confident about doing physical activities. When I think about it, it makes me feel, so say to yourself, how does it make you feel? I feel this in my body. So if you feel it in your body, what's that like? Any texture, any colour, focus in on anything that came through for you. And in this moment, I choose to accept myself anyway. Okay, so we'll do that a few more times. The setup statement is really about balancing the difficult part of it, of what we're experiencing, with some acceptance and self-compassion. So that is what we're doing in that statement. So we'll do it again. You can say it out loud ideally, but you can say it in your head. It's ideal to give it a voice if you can. Even though I lack confidence in doing physical activities and exercise. Part of me wants to do it, but I don't feel confident. When I think about doing it, it makes me feel, finish the sentence, what does it make you feel? And then tune into where you feel that and how you feel that feeling in your body, if you can. Being as specific as possible, you can list it, the colour, the shape, where it is, the emotion, or just focus on it. Nice deep breath. In this moment, I choose to accept myself anyway. even with these feelings. If you have resistance to that, if you're like, I don't want to accept myself with this feeling, and you're like, no, that doesn't feel right for you, that's okay. Don't force it. You can just add try. You can say, I'm going to try a little bit, that opens the possibility. So again, even though part of me wants to do more physical activity, but I lack confidence. When I think about doing it, it makes me feel, how does it make you feel? List it, acknowledge it. Where do you feel it in your body, this feeling, if you can notice it? Deep breath. Right now, I'm going to try to accept myself anyway, just as I am. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next point. Before we do, I want you just to notice what you feel in your body. Has it moved? Has it changed? Is it the same? Just settling into this process of tapping as we go into the round a bit deeper. And I also want to mention that we're focusing on confidence, and there can be so many different reasons that we might lack confidence. So if we have a physical disability, if there's something that makes us feel a bit different or less able, that is so valid, however you feel around that, and you can really acknowledge that to yourself and whatever it brings up for you. We're all experiencing confidence issues for different reasons, so I think it's important to acknowledge that. Top of the head, nice deep breath. I don't feel very confident. We're going to tap the inner eyebrows, just here where your eyebrows begin. You can do it with one hand or two hands, just where your eyebrows begin. Nice deep breath. I don't feel confident. Outer eyes, just where the temples are on either side, quite close to the eye. I don't feel confident about being physically active. Under the eyes. And I want you to be as specific as you can about what's going on for you. Okay, so finish these sentences. It makes me feel, under the nose. When I think about being active, it makes me feel, under the mouth. I don't feel very confident. Collarbones. So we're just tapping just under the collarbones, a little soft spot. We're just tapping there. It can be with two hands or you can do it with one hand. Okay, nice deep breath. I wish I was more confident about being active, doing exercise. And again, you might have a specific thing that you want to do, like do a certain sport or achieve a certain goal. No goal is too small. It might be really small, just doing some exercise at home. That might be your goal, and that's really important. Just acknowledge that to yourself right now. I don't feel confident about doing this activity. Under the arm. When I think about doing it, it makes me feel, how does it make you feel? Tapping across the wrist. Oh, sorry, so the point on the side, I should have just said then. So we can do either side, and it's just under the armpit on the side. So if you wear a bra, it's usually where the bra strap is. If you don't wear a bra, it's just a bit further down from the armpit on the side here, and we're just tapping there. So you can do both if you want to, or just one on either side. I know this is one of the points that feels a bit strange if you've never done it before. Nice deep breath. Okay, so then we're going to go onto the wrist. It can be either wrist, it doesn't matter. We're tapping just across the wrist. So it's not on the side, it's on across the main part of your wrist, just under the palm. Nice deep breath. When I think about doing activity, it makes me feel, how does it make you feel? And at this point, you might just begin to become aware of any memories or events when it started. We're not going to go into it just yet, but you might just be aware of it. Okay, we're going to do the finger points. So we're going to start on the thumb. We're just tapping either side of the thumb where the nail bed begins. Okay. When I say next, we go on to the next finger. These points are really good because you can use them in public. They're really discreet. So if you are feeling some anxiety or stress or something coming up and you're in public, then these points are really good. You don't need to do the whole sequence to get an impact. Any of these points are going to support you. They're going to reduce your cortisol, your stress hormone. They're going to help you feel more relaxed. Deep breaths. So tapping the thumb. Just repeat after me. I wish I was more confident. Next finger. Still tapping either side of the nail bed. I wish I was more confident about activities. Next. I don't feel confident about being physically active. Next. I wish I did feel more confident. Next little finger. But actually, I feel, how do you feel about it? Okay, we're just going to go through the points again, straight to the top of the head. I don't feel confident about it. So remember, you can be specific. What is the thing you want to do? You can add that in. Inner eyebrows. Part of me wants to be more physically active. Outer eyes. But I just don't feel confident. Something is stopping me. Under the eyes. I choose to acknowledge that. Under the nose. I wish I felt more confident. Under the mouth. But right now I don't. Right now I lack confidence. Collarbone. This activity I'd really like to do more of. What to do. I just don't feel confident enough. So you don't need to repeat this bit, but it might be that you already do it, but maybe you don't feel confident. You might be somebody that's going to the gym and feels, uncomfortable and embarrassed. I think that's quite common. I used to feel like that when I went to the gym. Am I doing it right? Or you might feel, doing it at home, but you're just not getting it right. You might be judging yourself. So just be aware of that. Nice deep breath. We're just tapping that point under the collarbone. If you have a condition that has joint pain or aches, you might be quite tender. So be really gentle on these points. If you feel tired for any of the tapping, then you can miss a point out. That's okay. Or you can just make sure you're more supported. Is there a way to support your arms as you do this? Okay, we're going to go to that side point. Remember, either side is fine. Nice deep breath. When I think about doing the activity, it makes me feel, how does it make you feel? I know we're quite repetitive with this, if it feels like that, but that is part of the key. We want to be repeating. It's kind of like a very gentle exposure to the difficulty, the emotion. When I think about doing this activity, it makes me feel, remember, consider that in your body. Where is it in your body? Tapping the wrist, either wrist is fine. Nice deep breath. Thinking about when this issue began. When did I start feeling unconfident? So if something comes up for you, great. You might get more clarity. You might not be sure. That's okay. Work with whatever comes up or doesn't come up. That's okay. There's no right or wrong with this process. Tapping the thumb. I don't feel very confident about this. Next. Remember either side of the nail bed. I don't feel very confident about doing physical activities. Next. Middle finger. Nice deep breath. Something's holding me back. Next finger. I acknowledge there's something blocking me. Next. Stopping me from enjoying physical activity. Okay. Relax your hands for a moment. Take a breath. Have some water. If you're speaking out loud, it's quite thirsty work. Okay. So we did a couple of rounds of the main tapping sequence. Some different practitioners, therapists might do slightly different points. For example, the hand ones aren't always used. Part of the reason that I use them That's how I've been trained, but also, as I mentioned, they're really good, nice discrete points that you can do when you're on the bus or under the table or desk or something. So we will do some more tapping, but it's good. We always check in and just see if anything's changed, what's come up. So I want you to just take a moment again, if it's comfortable, to close your eyes. Check in with your body. So at the start of this, what feeling you identified and where it was in your body about your confidence issue, your confidence challenge in doing physical activity. Where was it in your body? Were you aware? And if you were, has it changed? Has it moved? Have you got more awareness, more intensity? Might have reduced. You might have started with one feeling or emotion. It might have moved to another. The shape, colour, has it evolved in any way? And if you weren't sure, if you didn't know, have you got any more connection to your body? Is there any more awareness? Maybe you have some questions or thoughts that have come up. If you've got pen and paper, then write that down, note it down, because that could be really useful sort of gold for you to explore a bit later and reflect on. With EFT, it happens often that we do have an awareness, which we call like a cognitive shift. So if we're tapping and suddenly a little light bulb goes and we're like, oh, that's what's made me so nervous about physical activity. We might connect something that we weren't consciously aware of before. So that can happen, and that's really nice when that happens, because it helps us get that clarity and understand ourselves better, so we can take sort of different actions that will help us, or just be more compassionate to ourselves. But also sometimes it happens after the session. So you might have an awareness or a shift, a different kind of way of looking at the situation that it ultimately is helpful for you. That might happen later, like today, tomorrow, next week, even next month. These shifts, as we get that water flowing along the meridians, that block of garbage, that might start to pick away and erode over time. We're setting something in motion. So the journaling, noting down, can be really helpful for that. Okay. And the number. So if the numbers change, just note that down as well. Whatever's coming up for you, remember you can work and adapt it. This might take you on a slightly different path to what the theme was today. Go with that. That's okay. You can replace my words. Okay, so we're going to start tapping the outside of the hand. And we're going to very gently just lean into an awareness of maybe where this began, if there's a past event, but super gently, just to acknowledge it. Don't worry if you didn't have that. You could just guess. You could just approach it with curiosity. Being curious about ourselves and our challenges, I think is a big part of moving forwards. We have a lot of blind spots about ourselves. We can quite often see others very clearly, but we might not see ourselves. So hopefully we can get a bit of clarity for you around it today. Okay, nice deep breath. Even though I've got this issue with my confidence about doing physical activities, I wish I could do it like other people can, but I don't feel confident. I doubt myself. Be specific to you. Remember what's come up, what's going on for you. You can say it out loud. Acknowledge the emotion. Where does it sit in your body, if you can? In this moment, I'm going to try to accept myself anyway. Even though I've got this difficulty with my confidence about doing physical activities. And it began, when did it begin? We could just guess. Sometimes a number just comes to us an age and we can just trust it under that curiosity. Right now, I'm going to try to accept myself anyway, no matter what happened. Even though, when I think about doing physical activity, part of me feels, how do you feel? Remember, try and explore that in your body, if it's comfortable to do so. And this feeling began In this moment, I acknowledge this issue, this thing that's holding me back, and I choose to try and be kind to myself anyway. I'm only human. Something happened to affect my confidence, and I choose to be kind to myself about this. Okay, so we're going to go up to the top of the head. So I just want to mention we are gently leaning into a possible past thing that happened. It might be being bullied at school, sadly, is something that probably comes up a lot around this. But it might be something really present at the moment. You might be uncomfortable about your body shape. That might be a factor. So remember, that's perfect to make that specific to you. Top of the head. Nice deep breath. I don't feel very confident. Just as we're tapping this point, you might want to consider your confidence. Is it specific to this issue? Or you might realise or be aware that confidence is sort of bigger than this issue. It might be affecting other things in your life, and you can just be aware of that. In our eyebrows. I don't feel very confident about doing physical activities. Outer eyes, either side of the eyes. Nice deep breath. It's really important we keep breathing to help the energy circulate. So when we're tapping, I should mention, you might have already found this, as we're getting energy moving, signs of that are yawning, burping, you might be hiccuping, sneezing, tears, watering eyes, yawning. These are all things that are good signs because it means that we're moving some energy. Don't worry if you're not having that, but also don't worry if you are having that because that's a good sign. Under the eyes. Nice deep breath. Something affected my confidence and it affects me doing physical activity. Under the nose. Part of me really wants to, but I just don't feel confident about it. Under the mouth. And this affects me. So I want you to be curious. It might be another journaling prompt, opportunity to scribble something down if you want to. How does it affect you? Is it about, are you missing out on like a social sports team, or are you missing out on feeling healthy? Do you want to feel better in yourself? That sense of feeling like you're doing something good for yourself by doing some exercise. Just consider how it affects you. Collarbone, nice deep breaths at that point, just under your collarbone. And repeat. Something affected my confidence about doing physical activities. And remember, if you can be specific about what that is, then great, be aware of it. Under the arm. And this makes me feel, tune into how you feel in your body. If you're not sure, that's okay. You can just say to yourself, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Okay. Tapping the wrist, either wrist. Nice deep breath. And this has affected me for, how long has it affected you? Is this a new issue? Has it affected you for years? Just consider that. And repeat, and I'd really like it to change. Tapping either side of the thumb. I wish I felt more confident about physical activities. Next. But right now, I accept that I don't, as much as I can. Next finger, so on the middle finger, either side of the nail bed. Part of me really wants to do physical activity. Next finger. But part of me does not feel confident about it. Next finger. And I choose to be kind to myself about that. Okay, we're going to go straight up to the top of the head. Part of me wants to do more physical activity, or perhaps to do any, in our eyebrows, but I just don't feel confident. Outer eyes. I see other people doing it, under the eyes, but I don't feel good about it, under the nose. And it affects my life, under the mouth. It makes me feel, how does it make me feel? Collarbone. When I think about doing physical activity, it makes me feel, to tune into it, it might be the same, it might have changed. Just see what comes through for you onto the arm. My confidence has been affected. So again, just focus on any awareness around when this happened and what it was that kind of caused your lack of confidence around physical activities. Tapping the wrist. I'm going to try to accept this and to accept myself with this lack of confidence. Tapping the thumb either side. I wonder what that would be like for me. Next finger, so just either side of that nail bed. I wonder what it would be like for me to accept this about myself. Next finger. Even though I wish I was more confident. Next finger. Maybe this is where I am right now. Next finger. Maybe I could be kind to myself about that. Okay. If you had some resistance to that, then it's very natural. That's okay. Introducing this idea, sometimes it's quite radical for us. It might not be for you. We're all different and in different places with, our journey, our life journey. But sometimes the idea of accepting ourselves with the issue is like, no, I don't want to. We want to fix it. We want to change it, which obviously is very natural and understandable. But quite often, actually, what we need to do is to accept ourselves, even if it's just 2% more with this issue. Even just the idea of accepting ourselves with the issue is still going to help us shift some of that energy that we're talking about. And actually, quite often, that is the key that helps us to make those changes that we want to make. Hope that makes sense. It's sort of like a key to opening that door a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do another round. If you're tired, please, come back to this later. That's okay. If you're up for doing a bit more tapping, we won't do much more, but we'll just do another 1 or 2 rounds. This time we're going to bring in a little bit of that. Do you remember before at the start we were talking about what you would like to feel like? This idea of how you'd like it to be, about how you feel about doing this activity, whatever that is for you. And if you couldn't tap into that, it's okay. You can still take part in this. Just tapping along, whether you are speaking or really going into this, just tapping is going to help you to feel more relaxed. Research has shown that this tapping process alone, without the cognitive, without the speaking, is also reducing stress. So don't put any pressure on yourself. Okay, so we're going to connect a bit more. We're going to assume that your number around how you feel about this has sort of changed, reduced, that you feel a bit more neutral, that you feel a bit less bothered by this confidence issue. Okay, just for the purpose of this session, it's obviously a general session, so I can't say where you are exactly, but you might want to do a bit more tapping. You could, repeat some of this tapping if you still want to do more work on your confidence. But we're going to do another round, tapping on the outside of the hand, nice deep breath. Even though I don't feel very confident about doing physical activities, I am open to the possibility that this could be different. Okay, if you feel big resistance to that, that might be a sign that you're not ready to go into this part yet. You might want to tap more on the emotions and the confidence. But a little resistance is really understandable. Remember, we can just say try. So we'll do that. Even though I don't feel confident about doing physical activities. I wish I did, but I don't. Right now, I'm going to try to open to the possibility that I could feel more confident. I'm not sure how to make that happen, but I am curious about it. So we're just planting a little seed for you there, like, we wonder what that would be like. You don't need to know, but to figure it out. Try not to get too in your head, but trying to think about it and rationalize it. We're really connecting with the energy in the body into the unconscious. Thinking, figuring out mind sometimes pulls us away. Even though I don't feel confident and something affected my confidence about doing physical activities. And it makes me feel right now, I choose to accept myself as I am. And I wonder what it would be like for me to feel more confident. So at this point, you might connect with, if you had a vision, a sense of you, maybe in the future, that goal of what it would be like to feel more comfortable doing that exercise, taking part, doing something. You might see yourself smiling, looking content, maybe a bit worn out from the exercise. Okay, top of the head. Nice deep breath. Part of me does not feel confident about this. Inner eyebrows. But part of me is curious about how it could be different. Outer eyes. But part of me really lacks confidence. Under the eyes. And that part holds me back. Under the nose. But part of me is curious now. Under the mouth. What if I was more confident about this? Tapping under the collarbone. What if this could change for me? I wonder what it would be like for me to be more confident about this. Nice deep breaths. Remember, you're just asking the question, you don't need the answer. If an answer comes to you, great, but you don't need the answer, you're just putting the question out there, like a boomerang, might come back later. Under the arm on the side, nice deep breath. I'm struggling with a lack of confidence. Part of me doesn't want to do physical activity. Tapping the wrist, either wrist. But then there's this other part that really does want to do it. And that part is curious. What would need to change for me to be able to do it and feel good about it? Either side of the thumb. Maybe I'm not sure. Next. It might be a big change. Next finger. I'm not sure it's possible. Next finger. But I would like it to get better. Next finger. I would like to feel more confident. We'll do one more round, top of the head. I'd really like to feel more confident about this. Inner eyebrows. But if I'm honest with myself, part of me doesn't. Outer eyes. I wonder if that could change for me. Under the eyes. I wonder what it would be like to feel more confident. So you can tap into that feeling if you can. Under the nose. Maybe just the idea of it being different. That can be quite expansive. Maybe you can see what that would be like. Just a few percent. Tapping into that might be really, really good for you. Don't worry if you can't tap into it. That's okay too. Onto the mouth. My confidence affects me. Collarbone, just underneath the collarbone. Nice deep breath. I wish it was different. I choose to accept myself a little bit more today. As much as I can. Struggling with my confidence. Struggling with physical activity. I choose to accept myself a little bit more. Under the arm. But I don't want to accept myself. I want to be more confident. You might be aware that you might be being hard on yourself, beating yourself up, maybe. Whatever comes up for you, again, note it. Might be useful for you later. Tapping the wrist. This part of me that might be willing to accept myself a little more and open to the possibility that it could be okay, that I could enjoy exercise a bit more, feel a bit more confident. Maybe it's one day at a time, either side of the thumb. And I choose to take one step at a time. Next finger. I'm going to try to be kinder to myself. Next finger. I'm going to try to accept myself a little bit more. Next finger. Maybe my confidence will grow. Next finger. And I'm curious about that. This idea of my confidence growing. Okay, rest, relax your hands, nice deep breath. So just to finish very quickly, we're just going to hold this point. It's called the gamut point. So either hand, we're just going to follow from the knuckle between the little finger and the ring finger. Going to follow down around here, this point, and you can just hold it or you can tap it, whatever feels good for you. And very quickly, just a few minutes, seconds, we're going to close the eyes, tune in with the body, take a breath. And I want you, if you can, to connect with this idea, this possibility. Remember, 1 or 2% is enough of what it would be like for you to feel more confident about this, to enjoy that activity, to do the thing, feel a bit better about it, to just feel a bit freer so that block is cleared a bit. What would that feel like? What emotion would that bring up? How would you feel in your body? Would you feel light, free, just balanced, strong? What would you feel? If you are able to connect with that, let yourself almost turn it up as much as you can. So you might visualize it, you might see yourself, you might just feel it. Ideally both, but our minds work differently. Nice deep breaths. Really let that feeling, that image become as strong as it can. If it's not happening for you, that's okay. Don't force it. But it's just a tool that can be really useful. Then just let go, relax your hands. Do a little check-in, notice how you feel. You need some water, please make sure that you're cared for. Check in with your body. You know, that feeling you started with when you thought about doing physical activity, has it changed? Is it the same? Has the intensity reduced? If you give it a number, has it moved into a different emotion? You know, whatever you can check in and notice in your body is really useful for you moving forwards. Hopefully we've shifted some of that energy for you and you feel more comfortable with the idea of doing physical activity, or perhaps more aware of what's going on for you in terms of blocking. Thank you so much for joining the session today. I really enjoyed sharing that with you along the theme of the Olympics. And remember, drink plenty of water. We've done a lot of healing today, even if you don't feel like you have. If you feel any emotions bubbling up, that isn't unusual. It happens sometimes, so don't worry. Try not to make it wrong. Just take care of yourself. Do you need to rest? Listen to your body. You know, journal, take notes, do some more tapping if you can. So a little tool you can take away. You don't need to remember all the points, but you know, you can come back to this video and watch it again if you want to do some more work on this to help you move forwards with it. But you can take away just one point from today. So sometimes this is a nice point. You might have felt one of these felt particularly good. Whatever it is, you can just tap, take deep breaths. That's going to help you to relax. Or you can also acknowledge, even though I'm struggling with this issue, I choose to be kinder to myself. Something really simple like that. Keep it simple, I think is really good. Okay, we'd love to hear your feedback. You know, we'll look over the comments, and if you've got any questions, or let us know how you found it, that would be really great. Thank you for joining. I'll be back again on the 30th doing a Qigong session, which is all about flowing energy again in a slightly different way. It is a gentle physical activity, so hopefully this will have supported you to maybe feel more confident in taking part in that. Okay, thank you so much. Take care. I wish you a good weekend, and I shall see you soon. Bye.